Hello, welcome. Um, Happy International Women's Day. And we are still celebrating women in tech in the space. I am Sherry Yang. I'm the engineering team lead with Adaptivus, Woman Techmaker Ambassador in Canada, as well as organizers for Toronto JavaScript group. What I'm here today is why the reason why I'm here today is yes, again, to celebrate International Women's Day, but at the same time, bringing this amazing experience together to really share with more of the North American folks that is across this continent. And today we have a wonderful line of speaker where we are going to showcase what it means to be women in tech, how do we empower one another, and from this experience we get to know the Woman Tech Maker Ambassador Program and the Woman Tech Maker Program as a whole. So I do want to introduce this Toronto JavaScript group with you first. Toronto JavaScript is a group that is based in Toronto. We serve the tech communities in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And I am one of the organizers there. We are a group with diverse people who experience in different technology and at different level of their career. And in terms of involvement, we run regular programmings. We also introduce some Google technology, as well as creating an inclusive, safe space for everyone who's in the tech space. A quick reminder, Woman Tech Maker members uh, is open today, and it's still open. We are constantly open to accept new members and ambassadors. So if you're someone who's interested in the Woman Tech Maker program, you're more than welcome to join. I will leave this for a couple seconds so you get a chance to check it out. Again, this is a community that will share resources that would empower you to go on your tech journeys with Google and with your career. And at the same time, we host events in your local community that allows you to connect with your um, folks who are in your space to share resources and at the same time um, doing some professional network together. So with that, I want to give you a showdown of what is going on today. So for the next 25 minutes sorry, 1.5 hours or so 90 minutes in counting, we are going to have some amazing presentation that is going to be on at this event. So starting with the keynote is Kayla Morrissey, who is going to present on personal branding. And in the chat, if you have any question, please share with our speakers because they are live online today with us. And Caitlin is the global program lead for Women Techmaker Ambassador program. So you're more than welcome to ask her any question about the program as well as personal branding. And next, it's Janine Lee. She is the global learning and development technology strategy and operation leader at Google, and she will be able to answer all your questions about career development and being able to excel in the same within the same company. Moreover, we have Macy Kuang, who is going to be our last speaker of the day, and she is going to share her findings in overcoming adversity. So before we jump in, I do want to let you know at today's event, within the 2 hours, we are going to have random prize drawings. And with these random prize drawings, I do want to let you know that you would contact me directly, share your name with me, as well as um, your YouTube chat screenshots or whatever screenshot to prove that you were the winner of the day in this email. That would be fantastic. And the prices that we're going to share with you today is $10 US credit towards an education course of your choice. So contact me if you're a winner, and then this way you'll be able to get these prize prizes. Without further ado, we will get this show rolling. So I would like to introduce Caitlin Morrissey, and she is, like I said, going to be our keynote speaker, but at the same time, very dearly to me because I work closely with her at the Women Techmaker Ambassador program. Caitlin has been with Google for over a decade, and she has led more than 1,800 leaders around the world to really empower women in their local communities to thrive in this tech industry. So, Caitlin, welcome.
Thank you, Sherry. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm very excited to kick things off. As Sherry mentioned, I'm Caitlin. I am the global lead of the Women Techmakers Ambassador program here at Google. Huge shout out to Sherry. She is a fabulous ambassador and has been with the program for a really long time. I am going to go through this presentation all about personal branding. As Sherry mentioned, though, at the end, please submit any questions that you have as I go through the presentation. But I'm also always more than happy to answer any questions about women tech makers. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and jump in because we have a lot to cover today. This is all about personal branding, and probably we could spend the entire rest of the day, honestly, talking about personal branding and doing some exercises. I have 20 minutes with you, so we're going to make this short and sweet, but I'm hoping that this is going to be something that inspires you to take action afterwards and to start thinking about this, because the thing about a personal brand as well is it's not something that's going to be built overnight. It's definitely something that you want to work on over time. So together, we're going to sort of unpack exactly what a personal brand is and give you some really great tools that you can use to really start defining your own personal brand. So I would just like you to take a second to sort of reflect on what is a personal brand to you. You may have an idea in your head, maybe you've heard this sort of thrown around at times, but just giving you a second, what does a personal brand mean? In my own research for this presentation that I created a little bit ago, there were tons of definitions of personal brands and a lot of different ways to think about it and to think through what it truly means to have a personal brand. And I'm going to call out these two specifically today and just sort of highlight the things that I think are super important here. So the first part of a personal brand, I kind of like to break it down into two sort of separate things. I'm actually going to give you about 30 seconds to read this because I know that sometimes having a lot of text is distracting. So go ahead and read these two definitions. All right. So let's break this down. The first part of a personal brand is all about you. So I've highlighted here the really key and important things about what you bring to the table. What are you able to provide? And how can this benefit others? So what do you stand for? A personal brand should be a combination of your skills and experiences. It should be a carefully designed message about who you are and what you do best. And I'll add a bonus piece here is that it should also be things that are uniquely you. What are the things, the skills, the experiences, the value that you have that makes you stand out from others, right? A personal brand is a really great opportunity to say, this is why you should choose me for whatever opportunity might be presenting itself. You want to make sure that you understand and can define what makes you uniquely positioned to take on these types of opportunities. The second piece is really about making sure that people know about your personal brand. So it's all fine and well to have this great definition in your head, I'm really great at these things. This is why I'm super unique. But if you're not good at conveying that to others, there's going to be a problem, right? And so we also really want to focus on how do you define your brand, but then get your brand in front of the right audience. So today we're really going to talk about the first piece of this. As I mentioned, this is part of a larger presentation. And so we're going to focus today on the first part of this journey. And so that's really all about defining your personal brand. And that's going to take us through some authentic reflection, right? We have to first start and define, figure out where we are to understand ultimately where we want to go and how we actively communicate that into the world. And so, like I said, we're going to really focus in on the authentic reflection part of defining your personal brand. But then I'm going to give you a quick sneak peek or some inspiration that you can use to really think about how you might actively communicate this into the world. All right, so let's go ahead and start. So we're really just going to spend the next 20 minutes answering the question, what is your personal brand? And if this feels overwhelming, don't worry, you are not alone. It seems like a relatively simple and straightforward question, right? But actually, there's a lot under this. And I would recommend that this take time, and this actually takes some soul searching and reflection on your part. So again, we're not going to get this done today per se, but we can really get started. And just for a quick aside, I think also there's sometimes a hesitation for people to fully define their personal brand because it feels like, you're making yourself into a commodity or you're pigeonholing yourself in a specific way. Personal brands can change, they can develop, they can shift, especially as you grow and develop in your own career. You learn new skills, you figure out things that you like and you don't like. Don't think necessarily a personal brand is something that's static and is going to stay with you forever. It's something that's likely to change. But what you need to get really good at is defining what that is in this current moment and time. Because again, that is going to be the thing that's going to help open up doors for opportunities, whether you are looking for a promotion, looking for a new job, wanting to take on a new client, whatever that might be. We do want to find a clear and concise way that we can convey this. All right, so here are some of the rules that I like, that I think are the most important for us to sort of reflect on before we jump in and dive into actually writing that personal brand statement. Starting where you are, being authentic, highlighting your uniqueness, and knowing your audience. All right, so what do we mean when we say start where you are? It's just that. It's that your personal brand should reflect where you currently are at this moment in time. And that doesn't mean that you can't be aspirational in your personal brand, right? You can use your personal brand as a goal, honestly, that you are working towards, but it ultimately has to be rooted in some reality and the skills you actually possess. So, for example, if your personal brand is built around being a really distinguished public speaker, but you've never spoken at an event, you probably want to rethink that personal brand for now, and understand this is something you do want to be known for. You know what you're working towards, but right now that doesn't encapsulate the skill set that you currently have. And so you want to pause. You might want to pause that specific personal brand and wait until you get more of that experience. But that can also sort of give us a map and a direction of what we're working towards, and we can take that time to build and develop those skills that you ultimately want to be known for. All right. Then we always want to make sure that we're being authentic. I think when you start where you are, right, you do have to get a little bit real with yourself. Where am I in my career and my progression, and what skills and talents do I actually currently possess at this moment? Because being authentic and being truthful about the skills that you have can be a great way to just genuinely convey what it is that you do and what can make you unique. And not everybody has to feel like, oh my God, I have to, shout my personal brand from the rooftops at all moments in time. If you are somebody who's a little bit more introverted, that's completely okay. You don't want to, you don't have to, I should say, go out of your way to talk about yourself all of the time. You don't need to be everywhere all at once to have an effective personal brand. For extroverts, maybe that's a fun part of it, talking with people, telling people about who you are and what you do best. But for introverts, that might feel a little bit scary and overwhelming, and that is completely okay. You should not need to change who you are when you're thinking about your personal brand, because people can really see through inauthenticity. If you're trying to convey something that you're not, at some point that's going to become clear to your audience. And I think that when you start to think about, and this kind of goes back to this idea of a brand being aspirational, when you start to think about things and you're looking to maybe build some of those skills, that's awesome. But if you start to put things that are just not truths into your personal brand, you're going to have a hard time keeping track of all of that stuff. So again, we can sort of use a personal brand statement as a goalpost, but when we're conveying it into the world, we want to make sure that authentically reflects who we are. All right, touched on this a little bit, but this is really just all about highlighting your uniqueness. What makes you stand out? What are you uniquely able to bring to the table? And it doesn't have to be something massive, you won a Nobel Prize or whatever that might be. I mean, that's pretty impressive, of course, include that, but not everybody is winning Nobel Prizes every day. And so what's unique about you can really just be the path that you took in order to get to where you are today. It could be the experiences that you have and the unique combination of things that interest you. So it doesn't have to be extraordinary to be something that's unique. Finally, knowing your audience. And I would underline that this is maybe the most important part, is you really want to figure out who you are trying to reach. What is the goal of you having this personal brand? Are you really wanting to sort of start networking with other industry thought leaders? That's a really helpful tool that can help you to craft your brand. Is it individuals within your current company? Are you looking to sort of network with recruiters and find a new opportunity? Once you know your audience, that's going to give you a clear direction of what are the things within you and your skill set that you should be highlighting in this personal brand statement. Knowing who matters is going to help you in selecting the right message for your brand. So let's get tactical about this. How do we do all of these things? Those were sort of the rules and sort of guideposts and guidelines that I'd like you to think through. But this is getting tactical about it. So the first thing that I would really recommend is just starting with a bunch of lists. You can freehand this. You can do this on your computer. You can take a walk and just start thinking through these things. But lists are going to be a really great way to just brain dump all of the information about who you are and what are those skills that you're uniquely bringing to the table. So if you'd like to take a screenshot of this, this is just a thought starter of some of the questions that you can start to answer. So what are your strengths? What are you really good at? That could prompt, 2 pages of brainstorming of all of the things that you've done, since you started kindergarten. You can be writing down all of those strengths, right? Sometimes also with strengths, there are online tools like a strengths finder. Oftentimes talking to other people about what you're good at. Sometimes this is hard. Reflecting on the things that you're good at can push certain buttons. And so I would also recommend that as you're building these lists, bringing other people into the conversation to help you understand, give you a sense of reflection as well as that self-reflection. Another thing you can think about is like, what do you love doing? What gets you super excited? And sometimes those will also be the things that you're really good at, but sometimes that will also prompt some other things that sort of come up for you here. What sends you into that state of flow? Something that can be helpful for this is to sort of keep notes as you're going throughout a week. What are the things that you really enjoyed throughout that day? When did you get lost? When did time just seem to float by in a good way? What knowledge, whether it's education or learning and experience, so that actual practical application do you have? So that's getting real about the actual, knowledge and experience that you have in the world. Again, what about you is unique? Doesn't have to be that super crazy shiny bauble, but it can just be a small set of things that really help you stand out from others. You're bringing your unique voice, your unique perspective to the table. What does that mean? What does that look like? And then finally, I like thinking about what your values are, right? There's a great list of values from a book called Confidence Gap by Russ Harris. And you can find that online. And it has a great list of values that you can reflect on. I think a lot of the language and everything here can be really helpful as you sort of start to think about what are the things that are most important to you and help that define your help refine, I should actually say, what you want to state in your personal brand statement. So here's some things, we touched on some of these, but be real, be authentic. Where you are today is what you should be, what these lists should be about. Take your time. This is something that you can start today. I would recommend at least taking a week with this, maybe even a month, spending time just adding things. Maybe first thing in the morning, your brain is awake and it's like, oh my God, I forgot that I really love doing this thing. Or as you're taking a shower, you're like, hey, that actually is really unique to me. There's a lot of times throughout the day, especially when our brains start to get a little mushy, where we can actually have some of these really great ideas. So I wouldn't recommend just sitting down and trying to bang this out all at one time. That's going to cause probably more stress. But take your time, do this reflection over days, over weeks. Doesn't have to be, for hours on end. And I'd really recommend bringing in some other people that you feel comfortable with, your close confidants, friends, family, coworkers, to help you maybe identify some of the gaps that you might be missing. And then finally, your skills matter. So as much as you don't want to overblow what you can do or how you can do it, do know that the skills that you have and the knowledge and experience matter. And so don't ever undersell that. As much as we don't want to oversell it, we don't want to undersell. And I think that as I'm speaking here at this International Women's Day event, I think that that's something that can be hard specifically for women. And so I really encourage you in whatever way you can to start feeling confidence around the skills that you have and what you uniquely bring to the table, and not using words like, oh, I just did that, or this was a simple thing. Really, as much as you can, step into that power, step into that confidence, because the skills that you do have, the experience you do have, truly does matter. And I love the saying from I Am Remarkable. It's not bragging if it's based off of facts. And if that's something that helps you more, your skills in programming, because you've been programming for the past 4 years, just having those little nuggets of sort of data to back up some of those statements about yourself can also be really helpful as well. All right, so we have all these lists. We have tons and tons of ideas about who we are, what we do, what we love, what our values are. Not all of that's going to be able to go into your personal brand statement. A personal brand statement should be short and succinct. So the second tactical piece that you want to do, once you're fully done, get everything out there though. Again, I really recommend that process taking some time, but once you're done, you're going to find your focus and you're going to spend time refining things. And so it's likely that these lists are going to be long. They're going to contain a lot of different types of information. We probably have collected a lot of different interests, skills, and passions over the years, but you really don't want all of that to be distracting when we're really narrowing it down to your personal statement. So first, cut out the noise. It's likely that we have a lot of, like I said, tons of things that are going to be on these lists. But you want to have focus in your statement. And so I want you to start looking through your list and either crossing out or circling the things that really feel like they are most important and most relevant to you and what you're looking to do with your personal brand. Focus on those and cross out the rest, right? Maybe you are super passionate about Settlers of Catan, but putting that into your personal brand is probably not going to be super relevant unless, for example, you are looking to get a job within the gaming industry. And then, maybe that all of those hours of Catan playing really do come into play. And you can really use that target audience to help you define this focus. Who are you going to be interacting with when you're kind of putting together this personal brand, when you're talking about yourself, when you're pitching yourself to others? Will it be a potential boss that you're looking to impress? Is it a potential customer, a potential investor? What will they want to see and what matters to them? So this is a really great opportunity to put yourselves in their shoes. And again, your brand might change over time as you switch interests or switch fields or just gain new skills. So remember that this doesn't have to stay static for forever. But you can only focus, you should only focus on having one clear message at a time. And then maybe 6 months down the line, 2 years down the line, that's a great opportunity to reflect back and be like, hey, do I still align with these things that I wrote in my personal brand in the beginning? All right. And then once we do all of this, so this is a lot of work. I probably didn't say that at the beginning, but this does take some work and it does take some time. But once we've done all of this, we are now ready to craft our brand statement. And you can think of this as a slogan, an elevator pitch, a statement that's going to be on your website, on your resume, wherever this might live. When we think about creating brand statements, the best brand statements are catchy, memorable, and attention grabbing, right? They shouldn't be boring and fade away. They should have fun adjectives, descriptive, fun ways to describe the things that you do, and something that doesn't feel like, hey, this could be about anyone, right? It should also have a certain level of intrigue, right? Like maybe you mention something that makes people want to learn a little bit more. But they should also be short and to the point. So these three things can exist, I promise. It's hard, but I would recommend as you're sort of thinking through, you're probably going to create a bunch of different drafts of this. But when you ultimately get to sort of that final piece, choose your words carefully. Utilize words that evoke emotion and hone in on the biggest benefits that you can provide to that target audience. A really great way to start with this, I think, is utilizing a formula. It can be as simple as I help blank do blank. And this can be a great opportunity for, this can be a great starting point for job seekers or freelancers or consultants. What type of person can you benefit or help the most? And what is the outcome that they can expect to working with you? let's look at a couple examples here. I would say, I just pulled a few here. The internet has a huge amount of great examples to pull from, to get inspiration from, not to copy. Please never copy word for word someone else's intellectual property. But there are great personal statements out there, and there's a great world of statements to get inspired by, especially people who are in your field. I think that's actually really good research for you to do ahead of making your statement, is how are other people talking about the things that they're good at? Because again, that can help you, hone in on the things that you'd like to highlight. So here's a couple of examples of people that are following the I help blank do blank. But there are infinite ways for you to think about your personal brand. So this one specifically, I help manufacturing organizations improve their processes to reduce waste and grow products. Another one, helping you build a big brand with your small business. A fun play on words there. So again, when we're thinking about your brand statement, this is meant to be a catchy way for you to introduce yourself to others. This is never going to be your biography. It is never going to be able to encapsulate everything you are. And finally, take your time. This is something, again, that I would recommend take place over the next month, let's say. Get lots of feedback and hopefully have fun with this. At the end of the day, this is something that I think can really benefit anyone in the world to have this clearly defined, so that you can help identify the right types of opportunities for you to find ultimately. The second part of this is all about actively communicating that. So we spent all of this amazing time reflecting, but then you actually need to come up with a plan on how you convey this brand to the world. We don't have time to touch on that today, but I wanted to give you a really quick sneak peek here. So a quick overview of how you want to think about conveying your brand to the world is to tell a story. Stories are really powerful and memorable. And again, this might not be the exact part of those exact sentence or two, but telling a story leading up to how people can remember you. Stories are a really great way to do that. Selecting the right mediums. So if you are looking for a job, it's important that this is posted on your LinkedIn, right? And that there are things that on your LinkedIn that can back up the statement that you're making. And finally, networking. We hear about this all the time. It's not always the most fun for everyone, but I do promise that this is a great way to get your personal brand out there, start bringing it into the world. And even if it's just starting with people that you already know, networking is a great way to convey your personal brand to the world. All right. So in summary, we took the time today to start defining your personal brand. I hope this was great inspiration that you can use and take into these next weeks and months that you might do this reflection. Because ultimately, creating the right brand will not only help you to be known in your field and consistently land work, but it could be the difference between someone saying, "Who are you?" versus "Thank you for being here in your career." So thank you for having me here today. I am open. I think we have a few more minutes to answer any questions. So feel free to add those into the chat. But yeah, I just want to say again, thanks. I hope that this was helpful and not too overwhelming. I know I just talked a lot, but I do think ultimately having a personal brand statement is something that can benefit anyone, regardless of where you are in your career, in your life. So I hope that this was helpful.
Thank you so much, Kaylin, for this presentation. And yes, I love the fact that you brought in some templates for folks to use, especially like I help XYZ to XYZ. It's like a really great way to like showcase like what do you really do, and like having a chance to highlight that. So that's really great. We do have time for one question, if we may. it's been on the chat. What would be some advice you have for folks with a technical role? And how do they establish their personal brand when it's not as creative?
So I would definitely say you may be limiting yourself when you're thinking that having a technical role is not as creative. I would say there's a lot of creativity within technical roles. It may not be the first thing that we think about when we think about sort of creativity in the sense of, artists and things. But I would push back a little and say, I bet you can get more creative than you think. And I think that the best advice that I would give is to start looking at other people who are distinguished in whatever part of tech that you exist in, and start to see how they talk about themselves. Some of them, to be honest, might not be very good. And it's actually a good learning lesson of like, oh, wow, this person like is really, does a lot, but like, yikes, this personal brand. Learning what you don't like and how you don't want to convey your brand, I think is just as helpful as, knowing sort of where you want to go. But I do think that you can probably get some nice inspiration when it comes to that. And I would say, again, it's not necessarily that it has to be, the flashiest, oh my God, I do this absolutely mind-boggling, life-altering, life-changing thing. But really going back to that formula of in this technical role, who do you help, or what is the thing that you're ultimately making easier or better or faster or stronger or whatever that might be. And then you can also start to bring in some like fun adjectives or descriptions, verbs. You can utilize things that maybe aren't always associated with tech, and that can kind of catch someone's attention, as well. So I would recommend just having fun with it a little bit. Write a statement that you never think will see the light of day, and just give it a whirl and see. You may never use that, but I do think that you can probably get more creative about how you talk about the things that you're doing, than you might imagine at the beginning.
Thank you so much for that. And yeah, like as someone with a technical role, that's definitely something that I have to consider too. Like, how do I make this exciting for other people? I don't want my personal brand to be like dry. And yeah, it's definitely things that I do bring in. Like, what are some of the creative things that comes through technical projects or technical initiatives that makes it engage with other people? Like, I think the most important part is to like be able to connect with people. Like your personal
Yeah,
brand needs to convey that.
100%. And what I would say too is like, if somebody who's in a non-technical role looks at your personal brand as a technical person and is very confused, that's actually completely okay. Remember, your personal brand doesn't have to fit everyone. If you are looking to impress other people in the technical world, get technical, about what you're writing. That's completely okay too. Remember, it doesn't have to be this thing that has broad appeal to everyone or that everybody looks at and is like, oh, that makes total sense to me. I know exactly what you do. If you are maybe trying to go more into the space of, public speaking and sort of explaining things about your role in tech, then maybe you do want to have more of that, things that don't feel hyper technical in your description. But if what you're trying to do is, impress your boss and get a promotion, use all of the technical lingo and pizzazz that you can to make that really stand out, right? So knowing who your audience is will also help you.
That's amazing. Again, thank you so much, Kaylin, for being here today. You have shared so much tips about personal branding, and I can't wait to try it out myself. So thank you again.
Amazing. Of course. Thank you, Sherry. And thank you so much for this event. This is so exciting. And I hope you all have a great rest of the session. There are some awesome sessions coming up.
Yes. So it is time for a raffle prize. So I'm going to pick someone from the TorontoJS community. So folks in the TorontoJS chat, please say something in the chat. Keep that chat active. We have moderators in the chat to be able to pick a random prize winner. So whenever my team is ready, they're going to tell me a name, and we will have a winner. Oh. Alrighty. We have picked our winner, and that is Lisa VS. So, Lisa VS, congratulations. Please contact me at sherry@TorontoJS.com. Take a screenshot of this. Congratulations again. And let's get in touch. I will get you that prize. Congratulations. All right. So, I would like to introduce this next speaker. We have Janine Lee, who's joining us. Again, she's also from Google, but she is the Global Learning and Development Strategy and Operation Lead at Google. Janine has been with this space for a long time. She's an experienced leader with a lot of experience in DEI and change management. She's a certified executive coach, an adjunct professor, and an EDD 2023 doctoral candidate. What a mouthful, in organizational change and leadership. Janine's research focuses on increasing the sense of belonging for women for women of color in tech. And Janine has won dozens of international awards for her leadership in DEI effort. Welcome, Janine.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having me, Sherry and team. And thank you so much for those of you that have tuned in online. Happy belated IWD and Women's History Month. It's lovely to see you all. So today I'm going to be talking about accelerating your career development. But first, I wanted to just start with an analogy. And for me personally, I love to travel. It's my favorite hobby. So imagine you're trying to get to a destination in a new foreign country. What's preventing you from getting from point A to point B? And so if you think about it, it's, quite clear that you need resources, you might need a map, you might need to stop and ask for help, you might need to take stock of where you are in relation to the next point. But the analogy is pretty simple and it's quite clear. When it comes to your own career, what's preventing you from getting to one place to another is, at the end of the day, you yourself. And so what's holding you back from achieving your career goals today is really yourself. And so when you can think about your life and what you can control, what you can influence, and what you can curate, that should really be your focus. So today I'm going to share 5 quick tips that are going to help you accelerate your career development. So the first tip is to begin with the end in mind. So there's a snapshot here of this book by Stephen Covey called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And that book was a game changer for me. So one of the tips specifically said, begin with the end in mind. And it's similar to the map analogy. So where is it that you are actually trying to go? If you don't know where you want to go, then that is going to be a challenge in itself. So Covey says that you could use your imagination to create this vision of what you want to become when you essentially grow up. And you can use your conscious to tell you what values will guide you. So most of us can get really busy in just doing the day-to-day job that you're doing and what's in front of you. But if you pause for a moment and you actually think about where you actually want to go, what is your why? What is your purpose? What is your personal vision statement? You can actually intently align everything that you do in your life as it relates to your career decisions with that vision in mind. And so starting with that clear destination is really the first step to make sure that you're headed in the right direction. And so creating a personal vision statement would be a clear, concise summary of your personal goals and dreams for your future, but also encapsulates your personal values. So what is that personal vision statement of what you want to accomplish? And I'll tell you that it took me a really long time to come up with mine, But after lots of iteration and brainstorming, I came up with my personal vision statement, which is to inspire others to reach their full potential. And that's how I segued into learning and development as a leader, how I started spending time as an adjunct professor and an executive coach. And I started realigning my career exactly to what my vision and my mission statement for myself was. And so my challenge to all of you is to first think about that end in mind and what that personal vision statement is for yourself. The second is recognizing where you are today. So if now you know where you want to go, similar to the map analogy, you need to take stock of where you are. And so where are you today? What are the current accomplishments that you have? What are the skill sets that you've developed? And my mentor used to always say to me, take a look at what's in your toolbox. So you may have things in your toolbox today, like communication skills, leadership skills, coding skills, product management skills, and thinking really holistically about what you're an expert in, what you're proficient in, where you think that you need additional tools. So taking stock of all of that progress shows you how far you've come according to that long-term vision that you have. And then if there are skills that are really critical, that are important to getting to that long-term vision, what's missing? So familiarizing yourself with job descriptions or job ladders of your specific job. So if you want to be a UX designer and that is your vision, have you actually taken a look at those job descriptions that are posted on LinkedIn and online at the top companies to see what their minimum and their preferred qualifications are, and whether you have those skills in your toolbox today, or if you need to grow and develop those skills? And then pivot where needed. So when you recognize that potentially you have skills that you need to gain, how do you actually get there? And so there's where you are today, where you want to go. We talked about that step 1 and step 2. And then there's how to get there, which is this potential skills gap. Recognizing that everyone's journey is not the same and that it could take a long time. And so sometimes you're going to have decisions that you have to make. Should I take this job or should I take this internship? What is going to get me to my destination? And at the end of the day, what matters is getting to that destination. You may have some courses that you have to veer off course in order to get to that destination that you want to get to. And so worry less about the amount of time that it takes you to get to that destination, but just make sure that you're headed generally in the right direction, which is more important. And it may not be linear. And you may look at your peers and you may say, well, this person is accomplishing XYZ much faster than me. But again, at the end of the day, it's not how fast you get there, but are you headed in the right direction? And so when you look at closing some of those gaps and building additional tools in your toolkit, I highly recommend Jenny Blake's book, Pivot. And the way that the pivot methodology was created was looking at the analogy of a basketball player. A pivot refers to a player who keeps one foot firmly in place while moving the other in any direction to explore passing options to their other players. I don't know how many of you play basketball out there. I was not the best basketball player. But in order to pivot, successful pivots start by planting your feet in one strong foundation and then scanning the court for opportunities. And eventually you're able to pass the ball to someone else and test these new ideas, get feedback, pilot, and then hopefully you get to make that shot through your launch. And that is this pivot methodology: plant, scan, pilot, and launch. And so that planting was essentially that step 2 that I just talked about, where it's grounding yourself and taking stock of the inventory that you have in your toolkit. And then scanning is, what are those opportunities that are arising for you? What are those different paths that you can take? And then making a decision on which one you actually want to pilot, and then launching. So launching that ball and taking that step forward. So you can always read the book for additional details, but just at a high level, this pivot methodology is a cycle. So it's not a one and done. So you continue doing pivots and iterating until you get to your end destination. And then moving to tip 4, investing in yourself. And so I cannot underemphasize how important this is. This is one of my favorite quotes. The best investment you can make is an investment in yourself, by Warren Buffett. And so understanding, how much time do you spend today investing in yourself? So There's tiers of growth when it comes to developing skill sets. You could take a class. That is a very small investment. You can enter into a program that you get a certificate of completion, which means you've completed the course, you've completed all of the requirements, and then move into certification, which means you're actually accredited and you're certified in a specific area, all the way to getting a degree and focusing on higher education. And so from an education standpoint, those are the tiers of growth that you can embark in to invest in yourself. But you can invest in yourself in other ways, finding a mentor, finding a sponsor, shadowing someone that's done the job that you want to do. Looking again into other courses and skill sets that you can grow in. And so in the map analogy, it's really stopping to ask for help. And it's also spending the time to try to get to that destination and not giving up and saying, well, I'm not just going to go to see the Louvre in Paris anymore. I don't know how to get there. So I'm just going to stay where I am. The subway seems too complicated. So make sure you make the best investment you can in yourself, first and foremost. And moving on to the last tip, execute, execute, execute. So sometimes you just need to do it. You need to just start walking down that path and then realizing, okay, that's actually not where I need to go to get to my destination. I'm going to turn around and I'm going to go the right way because this is not servicing me in this particular role or this skill or this pivot that I'm making. And making sure, again, you stop and ask for help. Traveling with a buddy is always super helpful. So if you have someone that's aspiring to go into product management and you are too, why not have a peer support group where you can share resources, where you can do things together? I oftentimes meet with other coaches monthly to share best practices, talking through challenges that we may be having with coachees and to make ourselves better coaches. And so that peer support group is extremely, extremely important. And so, what's holding you back from executing and just doing it and taking the steps that you have? Don't fear failure. I always say, fail fast, and then you can correct yourself. And so thinking about the risks that you're able to take and the adjustments that you're willing to take. Most people just don't take the action. They might have gotten all the way to step 4, laid out this perfect plan, has taken stock on their tools, know what they need to do, has the money to invest in themselves to take a class, but they've never dedicated the time. And so just taking that time is so extremely critical. And according to Gallup, 87% say professional growth and development are important. So I think that's a good percentage, but how do you feel about that? Do some of you think that that's high? Do some of you feel that that's low? I would hope that everyone that's watching this thinks that professional growth and development are important. However, studies show that the average person spends at least 218 minutes procrastinating every day, which means every year you spend 55 days putting off the tasks that you really need to do. So how do you reconcile this, right? Everyone says professional growth and development is important, but then people are actually not spending the time. So again, tip number 5, execute. So in summary, my 5 simple steps to accelerate your career: begin with the end in mind, recognizing where you are today, acting on a pivot where needed, valuably investing in yourself, and step 5, execute, execute, execute. So with these 5 simple steps, they outline an acronym, which is BRAVE. So will you dare to be brave today? That is my question for you all, and to take those steps to accelerate your career. Thank you so much. And I guess we'll open it now for questions.
Yes, I want folks to connect with you. So let's sit on that slide for a little bit, but it's good. Thank you so much, Janine. It's amazing. This is an amazing talk. I learned something for myself as well. I feel like the couple of books that you mentioned was very helpful. I believe some of the people in the chat were saying like they find them also very helpful. So I've thank you so much for introducing them as resources. And having said that, we do have a few questions that's in the chat. So we have a participant asking, in many ways, we're all in a competitive space. How do we ground ourselves to make the right decision to find our own path?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And I would say that the market right now is highly, highly competitive, and the economy and the space that we're in technology. So recognizing that when you talk about grounding yourselves and making the right decisions, it's a two-part question. So grounding yourself, especially for that pivot, is really thinking about the skills and the attributes that you bring to the table. And they could be interchangeable skill sets, they could be technical skill sets. But if you were to think about what your managers, what your peers, what your friends and family know about you that you are exceedingly good at, that they say, for example, Sherry, I know you're really good at speaking. I know that you're really good at moderating panels. What does that mean about your skill sets? And really taking stock on those things that you do exceedingly well, and knowing your strengths, knowing your superpowers is always extremely critical. Everyone is different and unique in their own ways. And so you'll never have the same strengths as someone else. And really grounding yourself on your unique qualities and strengths and your experiences is what's going to help you make you unique in this competitive space. And then the right decision to finding your own path. I know it's scary and you want to make the right decision the first time. But again, it's okay to fail, and it's okay to fail fast, and it's okay to make pivots and multiple pivots and veer off course. But the goal is you just want to make sure that you're headed in the right direction. So a right decision for you may not be the right decision for your peer or for a friend of yours. And you have to think about what you're hoping to get out of the next step. It might be a baby step. It might be a big step. You have to assess your own risk. But that decision is yours, and you may or may not know that it's the right decision until you take that decision. So use as much data, feedback as you can, and resources to determine if that is the right decision. Leverage a mentor, leverage a sponsor, leverage your peers, and research what you can. But at the end of the day, you'll never really know it's right until you take that step.
Yeah, and I like the mention of like fail fast. Exactly. People are scared of failing, and it definitely is a strategy around fail fast as well. It's like overcoming that like fear of failing is a step as well. Finding your path is all about that, and like being able to open new opportunities for yourself. Have another question in the queue. Where do you find financial support and or free resources on professional development?
Oh, that's an excellent question. So it depends on what it is specifically that you're looking to do.
Oh, we may have lost. Um, we may have lost Janine here. Let's give her like 2 seconds.
Okay.
There we go.
Sorry about that. I think my internet just wiped out. So I was talking about financial support, and I think it depends on what you're interested in doing. So there's a lot of like what I would call bridge building programs that a lot of nonprofits offer and a lot of associations. So there's a lot of like women in tech groups. Google also has a certificate program that you could participate in, which is called Grow with Google. And so seeking out and doing that research as part of the investing in yourself, you will find things just doing a quick Google search or joining communities. Like I know Latinas in Tech does a lot of different things, Black Girls Who Code. So there's so many different resources that are out there. Unfortunately, I can't really advise until I know specifically which skill set, but just doing a quick search, you'll find so much that's out there in terms of financial support. A lot of schools also sponsor certificates or degrees, scholarships, if you're looking to continue your education. And then free resources. There's a lot of coaches, associations that offer free resources on professional development. The books are relatively inexpensive that you could purchase, but also a lot of local libraries have versions of these books that you could look into, or there's also audiobooks that you could purchase for a much cheaper value that you could listen to. Podcasts are also another great way that are relatively free for you to listen to get additional resources. So I would just encourage you specifically on whichever skill or path that you're looking into to do a quick search and find other peers and other community groups to help identify these financial support resources and professional development resources.
Yes. And for those who forgot the libraries in your community, they are a great way to find resources and having physical books in front of you as well. We do have another question from Sophia Kim. How can I effectively communicate my accomplishment in my new career field when I don't have much professional experience yet? And it feels like I'm explaining my aspirations rather than my ability.
Wow, thank you so much, Sophia, for sharing this. This is one of the results of imposter syndrome. And I will just call out that even if you are new in your career field, you will have accomplishments. It is so easy to accomplish something in a role, even if you've only been there for a month or several months. And so, the one thing that I would recommend is first and foremost, shifting your mindset that you can add value and that you have accomplishments, even if you're new in this specific area. And so, thinking about the goals that you set with your manager, thinking about areas where you're getting praise that you're doing a good job, like a public speaking engagement or hitting a milestone for a critical project. Those are all accomplishments that you can highlight. And one of the courses that I highly recommend, that I'm also a facilitator for, is I Am Remarkable. And that is a free course that you can take that talks a lot about self-promotion and removing self-doubt and being able to clearly articulate your accomplishments in a public setting so that you feel more comfortable speaking up and sharing what you've actually accomplished. So again, the first step is changing your mindset and recognizing that you actually do have accomplishments and overcoming that imposter syndrome. And the second is to actually communicate it and actually say it. I am remarkable because of these reasons, or I contributed to this project through XYZ. And it doesn't even have to always be out loud. It could be through over email. It could be a recap summary of a meeting or a project or a status report that you're sending, where you're intentionally giving an update, but also showcasing your leadership and your communication styles. And you will get that professional experience over time. And there's also interchangeable skill sets. So even if you're in a completely different field, what you've accomplished in a previous role may showcase leadership and communication, which are skills that transfer to any position. So even if you've changed from a technical perspective, those skills stay with you forever, and you can utilize those to showcase your accomplishments in your new role. So I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really great question. And this is a second time a second speaker mentioned about I Am Remarkable as a Google initiative. For those who don't know, it is a Google initiative as well, and it is a free course, free workshop that is offered by facilitator around the world and in multiple languages as well. So if folks who need and would like to check out some workshop that empowers you to have better perceptions towards personal branding and self-promotion, I Am Remarkable is a great workshop for that. I'm also a facilitator myself. Alrighty, we have one more question. How do you overcome resistance or set priorities?
Excellent question. So I'm going to look at those two separately because I think they're two very separate questions. So overcoming resistance. Wow, that's a really big question. And is this resistance that you yourself are having or resistance from others like your peers or your managers? Either way, the first thing is to be resilient and to recognize these obstacles that you have to overcome and that they aren't impossible, right? And so if it's resistance with yourself, it's really your mindset as to what's possible and what's not possible, what's within your control, what can you actually influence with a specific project. If it's not getting enough support from your manager, and then, it's maybe having a conversation and understanding with your manager why, they won't be supporting you in a specific project and being vocal about your career development goals. I always recommend individuals set a professional development plan and specific goals for themselves. And so resistance can come in all sorts and forms. It can be from yourself, it could be from others. But I think the resilience factor is really important. And if you fail or if you can't go through that path, don't forget there's multiple paths. So I had that slide where there's different segues to get to where you want to get. So if that door is closed, go knock on the other door. There's hundreds of doors out there for you to knock on, and don't feel like that is the only door you can walk through. So that would be my recommendation on resistance. Setting priorities is extremely critical. So I talked about that professional development plan. So thinking about the where you want to go and thinking about concrete steps that you can take that bring you an inch closer. So be realistic about setting your goals and think thoroughly about your plans and milestones, putting them on your calendar, setting reminders, and having accountability partners to hold you accountable. It could be a partner, it could be a family member, but hold yourself accountable to those goals and actually execute. Otherwise, you're never going to get to those priorities and you're never going to make the time. So those would be my top tips on overcoming resistance and how you can really prioritize.
Yes. Adding things to your calendar and make it happen is my number one thing. If it's not in my calendar, it's not going to happen. I put everything in there, including going to the gym, take a walk, like anything like that. It has to fill in my calendar so that it happens, because we living in a different world right now. Nothing is really like you don't have to leave your home office if you don't have to. So yeah, definitely execute. That is our last question for the day. Thank you so much, Janine, for being here today and sharing your fantastic tips on career advancement.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. And I just want to encourage everyone to dare to be brave today. And please stay in touch and keep me posted on your journey. Take care.
All righty, my friends. That's another exciting talk. We are going to jump into raffle prize time. This time, we're gonna talk. We're gonna pick a speaker from another channel, which is on the Google Developers Community in North America channel. Do we have folks there who's ready to pick someone? I feel like there's like an intention when we roll out the music here. Let's just wait for my team to pick someone there. Sophia Kim. Sophia Kim. Please. Oh, this is from TorontoJS. That's okay. We will still find one from the North America channel. Sophia Kim, please contact me at sherry@torontojs.com. Share your name and the screenshot, and we will get you that $10 credit towards the educational course of your choice. You're investing in yourself by taking this prize for sure. All right. Do we have someone who is on the other channel? They are picking. They're thinking in the back of their mind, picking the right person. Of course. Oh, here we go. Erica Selva. I know Erica. Congratulations. Congratulations, Erica. Please contact me at sherry@torontojs.com. Again, share with me your name, the screenshot, and then come and claim this prize. Thank you so much. And congratulations on winning these prizes. And keep that chat going. I will definitely be coming back again. So with these raffle prizes. While we load, all right, I am going to go ahead and introduce our next speaker. So coming up is Macy Kuang. She is an active software engineer and the founder with Meow Meow Games. Macy is a well-known public speaker and a Google developer expert for for Internet of Things and wearable technology. With over a decade of experience in the gaming industry, Macy has made significant contribution in the development space, especially on popular games. She has earned a reputation as a leading expert in AR and VR development. This is someplace that I would really want to go. It's very fascinating. It's so innovative. Here's Macy. Welcome.
Thank you, Sherry. This is really well organized. I'm very impressed. Since I only have 12 minutes, I will get started right away. Hi, everyone. My name is Macy. As Sherry mentioned, I'm a game developer. I started my own independent gaming studios about 10 years ago, where I help different customers to make their games or interactive experiences. I have clients such as BMW and TELUS, and I worked on the Peppa Pig games and many, many more. So I was a so I also have a YouTube channel where I share my coding tips and tricks. It is called Code to Create, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Macy Kuang. If you're ever interested in learning more about generative AI, I would highly recommend you go to my channel and check it out. So I actually was an international student. I landed in Canada back in 2007, right after I finished high school. And I had zero Canadian experience. I never even traveled abroad or even left my parents at that time. And my English was barely passing the expectation for a community college. And last but not least, of course, I had zero connection in Canada because I was new. The only person I knew was just my family member, my aunt, and she was the one who looked after me. But that's pretty much it. That's all I had. Fast forward just 2 years, I already graduated. I don't know if any of you are in a community college. It's a really quick program. You can even just take your summer just to do a fast track for your program. So I finished in 2009. And if you remember, during the 2008-2009 was the recession year. It's pretty similar to the current situation. You hear all the layoffs. Even just today, I know some of my friends from some big tech company just got laid off, even from the core teams, and there are many more layoffs coming up, right? Not to mention, there are not just existing jobs, and a lot of big tech companies are no longer hiring for their potential positions. That means it's a really, really tough time for people out there try to get a job, especially for someone who is new. So I feel it's very relatable towards my situation when I first graduated from the college. And I would like to share you what I did, and I figured that was really helpful. So, of course, this is me working, and it looked really happy, but definitely I did much work, made a lot of work towards getting this position. So I categorize the the things I tried in 3 categories. First one is learn new skills. Second is I did a bit more beyond just the homework from college. Last but not least, of course, is building networks, especially for me, just landed 2 years prior. I really had nobody, even in the industry. My family members, they were immigrants too. My aunt, she never even worked in Canada at that time, even though she lived in Canada. So the first thing I would say, just learn new skills, especially when I was graduating with a community college diploma. I did not have a computer science degree. I find that's pretty common nowadays. People not everybody having that like prestige educational background, especially for me. Like my parents just simply do not have enough money to support me through my whole educational system, my whole educational journey. I had to make money, and the only way to compete in such a competitive field, I figured the best way is to learn something that's new. Either it's a new coding language, a new product out there, or it's a new area that has just started. This way, we are pretty much competing in a more similar playing field instead of like, for example, I was graduating without a computer science degree. If I was going to compete with somebody with a master's degree in computer science, they're super good with C++ and Java, and I need to do something beyond that. So luckily, I discovered Flash. Back in 2008, 2009, Flash was really popular. It was like kind of animation tools for people. I know it's no longer supported, but at that time, all the websites, all the apps, and all the shows and animations all made with this tool. And I was fortunate enough studied this thing when I was in college, and immediately I felt there's a huge potential. And I also have seen a lot of products being made with this software. And of course, I went beyond just the homework we did. I read multiple books about Flash. I finished many, many more extracurricular just at my spare time to try to get good with this new tool. Well, new at that time. As I mentioned, I did more than just homework towards my homework. And a lot of us actually getting like professional portfolio-ish kind of homework during our academic years. I was actually a professor at the college a couple of years before. All the homework I gave to my students were actually great portfolio pieces, but not all of them have seen it that way. A lot of people didn't choose to be in a programming course, and a lot of them didn't even want to get involved in gaming per se. So a lot of them, I can tell, they just did it just to pass the course. However, there were a few students of mine, they put extra work into their games. They polished the game logics, added more graphics to it. They had a complete applications by the end of the year. One of my students, he came back to me, he told me the portfolio work he did with me in my class, that's how he got his first job, just by him showing a complete product to his current employer, and he was immediately hired. Because in this kind of environment right now, people are more than likely to hire someone who can finish something. And if you have a product that's just with a basic wireframe, basic functionality, for the look part, it's not as overwhelming as somebody who has done the whole thing. And also by publishing either it's an app or a website, your future employers, they may have a chance to see.
Oh no, StreamYard. Oh no, our going through technical difficulties, friends. We will get her back in a minute. We will definitely get Macy back in a minute. For now, I'll just entertain you. Okay, she's back.
I don't know where I left. I guess it was about finishing the whole more like the homework thing.
Yes, the story around how it was a success story on the student that took on.
So let's continue.
It looks really.
Okay, can anyone see my slides? I'm gonna get to the right page. So basically, my student, he got that job. I'm not trying to self-promote. I do feel he did more than just enough. He did most of work by himself, but I did see him doing that extra mile to get to that finishing point, which gained him gain his future employer actually more confidence to hire someone who is new. And also another story, since I'm just here, I have a friend from the Google Developer Expert Group. She is specialized in advertising. I was just casually chatting with her. I was like, how did you get started, like having your own business and like have those kind of big profile customers? She was telling me there was one day she heard there was a new online advertising product called Google Ads, and she got herself certified. And because her background and her connections, she just started doing ad campaigns for people. And that's how his online advertising business started. Now he's not just providing services for one platforms, he also providing services for all sorts of ad campaigns. There are a lot of very small certifications or small steps we can take can actually gain us huge potentials, especially with today. There's always something new coming up, there's always something refreshing, and people have not been explored in that area yet. Once you have some sort of complete product or some sort of certification to prove your ability to your future customers or employers, that will give you way higher chances of getting hired, and also give you a bit more competitive edge towards other people who just gone through a more traditional route. So last but not least is building networks. I know all of you are here trying to build a network. However, I do feel most young people, well, I'm not older, I don't really try to categorize people by age, is once you're in college, we usually often underestimated the existing connections we have. So the first underrated connections are actually our professors. I don't know if you know this, most of the professors are actually part-time. They do have a real job outside of teaching, which means they do have potentially having your dream job, and they happen to have human interaction with you. They have seen your homework, they have seen your work ethic. And that's actually how I got my first internship. One of my college professor, he had his own Flash studio. I discovered that, and I discovered he was looking for interns. So I proposed. I was like, how about me? And yeah, he was really nice, and he offered me an internship at his studio. And after the internship, he referred me to my next gig right afterwards. So that was some really amazing existing connection you may not even know you have. And not to mention, for your first job, you need to get references, and your college professors will be a great candidate for that. Next are your classmates. You're seeing each other for like at least 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, so maybe even more together. You maybe worked in group project together. You may have just chatted together. They are on the same boat as us. They may have the same information we are looking for. And not to mention, many classmates end up starting business together. Actually 4 of my college classmates, they ended up starting a business together. Their business actually got acquired about 5-6 years ago. It was really successful, and one of them was even on Forbes 30 under 30s in Canada. And they were just these 4 college kids, and was able to pull that off. It was really impressive. Often we underestimate our peers, but they actually are very, 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 very valuable resources to us. Last but not least are our employers, where we do our internships. And the referral I got from my first internship was actually from the HR. She never even worked with me. We just chatted, and then she had a friend asking her for somebody who can do some work, and she referred me. Those are the casual, unintentional connections we are making at a workplace. So that's why actually I recommend you, for your first job as a junior, try to get a job you actually need to go to the office, even if it's a hybrid, because it's easier to get a mentor once you have that impersonal connections, and you cannot avoid to see each other. So it's easier to ask him for a favor in person rather online. And I know commuting sucks. I know it's annoying to get like dressed for the job. But trust me, like for your first few years, those people you see every day in person will help you like a lot for your career, and they may become your mentor. They may even help you get a better pay, get a better position. They will give you the first hand of the industry informations. So here are some pictures of things I did, and I was volunteering at FITC. So if you want get free tickets to a conference, go volunteer. And I went to some hackathons. I think hackathon is a great way for developers to do networks because you work together. So you kind of test each other's work ethic within a few days. And also I was the initial Google Glass developer thing, and it was really fun. I made lots more friends there. That's how I ended up being in the Google Developer Expert program. So I think I just really wish you good luck in this very, very crazy time right now. I know it's not easy, especially as somebody who is so new to the field. And if I can do it, as a fresh off the boat, only 2 years in Canada, I'm pretty sure you can do it. So wish you good luck. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram. And of course, there's my YouTube channel. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for giving that talk, Macy. That was amazing. I was in the chat. I was like I hope that Macy will share her AR VR development with us. But I know this is more about overcoming adversity, making sure that you're on the right track, or getting motivation throughout this whole job seeking journey.
Yes.
It is very timely at this time for sure. I love it.
For sure.
Yeah. I also wanted to highlight what you mentioned earlier about like finding connection, network, enjoy the fun things that you do, and showcase like anything that you have in terms of your development with one another. Volunteer is a huge thing to get yourself out there.
Yeah, for sure. Because a lot of times, especially today's working environment, we don't see people that much. Like the online connection is good, but it's very surface. We need a bit more than just a comment, right? With a bit more handshaking, a little bit water cooler chat. And I find that's like actually very, very, very helpful for juniors, especially.
Yeah. We have some questions in the queue. Here we go. For current software development, how do we decide what's the best or new language or what to focus on? I know something about several languages or frameworks. Would I be stuck with the language?
Yeah, so I actually had a similar experience because without really going to the field, it's really hard to know what really clicks with the employers or if my current knowledge is enough or not. So I would suggest people just apply for different positions and different roles, see what gets you the reply. Like it's really difficult to just suddenly become a senior dev within a few months. So it has a long build up to the current stage. So based on what we already have, we need to offer. So here's a set of skills I have. Who will find me be the best candidate? We let the job market determine, like, okay, this thing is in demand and we are willing to give you like this much resources to help you grow. I think the job market is the best testing ground and to really give you that feedback. Like I have bias towards what I write. If you ask a Python developer, they may be gonna tell you Python is the best coding language out there. But everyone's skill set is different, right? And everyone's talents is different. Everyone's working experience is different. So just applying and send your resume around, try to apply for an internship or build something out there, see what clicks. And I would say the investment is very low, especially at very early stage of your career.
Yeah, it's finding it's exploration, and you're not going to be stuck in one frame for sure. And
Yeah, I used to be an Android developer. I did it for a year, but then discovered I didn't like it, and then went back to making games. So it's okay. It's okay to pivot a bit. And then in the future, my Android dev experience actually gave me many more other options in game devs too, because there are Android games, right? So,
exactly. Those transitions are great, and like your skill set is going to be with you, and like allowing you to like gain more experience in the industry to make that transition.
hi,
Cool.
Stacy. Stacy's my friend.
Yes, we have Stacy in the chat as well. She's
Yeah.
asking, what are some organizations that students and those transitioning to tech can join to find those connections?
Yes, I do feel there's so many resources out there right now, especially in Toronto. Like when I was starting, there was just very few. Now, like this is a great organization to join, and I would highly recommend you volunteer to making connections with the organizers. And we do have Google Developer Group Toronto. I think we have like 2 or 3 Google Developer Group Toronto right now. And in your local community, like for example, I'm a game developer. There are devs making games in Toronto where their female game developers get together. Uh, Transition, yes, it's explore, and once you find one organization, they usually lead you to a chain of other things. And just keep asking, and this person gonna tell you what they know, because I have my limited knowledge. But if you get like 10 Macy's, you're gonna get like, many, many more branches of informations.
Absolutely. And like students who are already learning, who are already in a track, try to ask all the questions. Like come out to like all these like industry events, as well as your local hosted online event, community hosted events. They will allow you to explore other things as well.
Yes, especially the Lomo Study Jam. I really like them. I know it's really hard to finish, but the ones who finish, they gain like a certification at the end. How great that is. You get somebody to do it with you, right?
Yes. It's we highlight like Google Developers Group because they do host study jams. They do have like path like a study group on a path to a certain certification, and they are back to back programming. Yes, it can be hard to like make sure you're on those schedules, but it like at the end of the day you are challenge yourself to do something, and you're trying something different.
Yes, and it's more about the experience. You know what is for you, right? I don't think finish the whole thing is necessarily destination. The destination is the connection you make. You tried, you explored. It was like, okay, this is what it is about. You maybe come back, finish it later. I don't think we need to give us too much stress by starting. Right? Starting, it's just enjoy it.
Absolutely. Do we have one more question or more questions? Processing. While we're waiting, Macy, what are you working on?
What am I working on? So I'm trying to get back to my YouTube channel. I just had 2 kids, and it was pretty stressful. But they're in daycare right now, so now I can get back to my YouTube channel, starting making those videos again, and I will be starting my speaking plan, and I possibly will go to Florida to speak at a conference in June or July. It's the actual times to be discussed. And of course, I'm working on some educational games for my kids right now. I try to teach them Chinese, and they like to play games. And it's very hard to find good educational apps that kids actually like. They're either too hard or they're really built for people who are already speaking pretty good Chinese. So that's something I'm working on right now.
Fantastic. It looks like that's all the questions for the day. Thank you so much, Macy, for being here. Yeah, we love your talk, and thank you so much for sharing your resources with us.
Cool.
Love to have you back again. Bye
Thank
for
you
now.
very much. Bye.
All right. We are at raffle price again. I'm gonna let the team just tell me which channel they're picking the winner from, and then we'll go from there. Yeah, so let's get the music started. Keep the chat going, and we will find our next winner. And while we're waiting, there are 4 people in the background that you don't see that is making this happen. Thank you so much for them. I will definitely name them in a minute, but I want to make sure that we give the space for the winners right now. Oh, Stacy. Stacy is the winner of our educational course credits. Stacy, please email me email me at sherry@torontojs.com to claim your prize. Have a screenshot of this this YouTube chat, and then we'll get you your prize. Great job. So, I want to remind you that Woman Techmaker is a program for everyone who is supporting women in the tech space, who is women in the tech space. We want you to have all the resources that you need to have to be successful in this industry. And what we strive to do is to do these like annual International Women's Day event to connect with folks who are in the community, and also highlight a lot of women in tech who are achieving great deals in the tech space as well. It's been a pleasure to be able to host this event with the Google team as well as TorontoJS. And I do want to remind you, and I do want to like talk a little bit about this program because this is something that got me here today. I've been with Woman Techmakers program since 2016, and y'all, it's been a great journey. I got a chance to become a better speaker. My confidence went, skyrocketing because I was doing a lot of public speaking through this platform, and I was able to gain a lot, use the resources that this community gave me, and be able to connect with fantastic people such as Macy, such as Janine, as well as Caitlin, and many, many more. And I recognize some people in the chat today. They're also community members as well, and I love them. And they give me a lot of feedback and a lot of like useful resources to help me grow in my career. I couldn't be here today without this community, so give it a check out. Woman Techmaker Ambassadors program is also open. I'm sorry, I don't have a slide for that. But the Ambassador program is also open today. So if you're a community lead in the space and you want to become one of the Woman Techmaker Ambassadors, I encourage you to sign up, apply, and come join me. Have lots of fun. All right. So that being said, I want to thank you, everyone being here today. I want to remind you that today's speaker, we have Caitlin Morrissey to talk about personal brand. get a chance to connect with her. She has an amazing journey with Google in terms of how she shares her journey with everyone, and really like has a lot about her upbringing, being able to highlight what she does best, and run a successful program such as Women Techmakers. So get a chance to connect with her. And we also had a chance to chat with Janine, who share her strategy on having that positive path towards career growth. And that's something that we often don't think about when we're busy working, committing lines of code, and being able to have a fun time in our personal life as well. This career development is something that you actually have to sit down, think about, plan out, and execute. Execute. And because it is, work, it's I don't. Yeah, work is part of our life. We find pride in our work as well. Sometimes our work is directly impacted to things that we care for. So we do contribute a lot of our time to work. So career development is very important. So get a chance to connect with Janine. And last but not least, Macy, who we just talked to. Gaming industry is booming, and it will always be booming. Your expertise will not only drive in like one space in the tech industry, but all the spaces. If you really think about it, this gaming industry is all about not just your day-to-day life, but it has something to do with creative, as well as engineering, as well as user experience. All of that encompasses a really good game, and being part of that is her talk about like overcoming adversity is that even though you might be investing in one space, you can still find path in finding a professional route or your own personal path towards your career in whatever that you're learning, and inspire yourself in your future path. That being said, again, I want to say thank you to the entire team. You don't see them; they are in the background, and I don't know if they want to be on cam, but I will shout out to amazing Sam that's in the background, Jeanette, Rajat, as well as Karina, who is in the background helping me making this production happen. Thank you so much for doing this with me. And yeah, happy International Women's Day. Thank you.